Ireland in the 1970s and 1980s tells the story of the foundations of the lesbian community through a series of short stories mined from the memories and experiences of queer women in 70s, 80s and 90s Belfast. This work offers a first-hand insight into their journey of self-exploration and the discovery of an inclusive community amidst a divided society. And joining us now to tell us about this project is Moya Morris, the voice of Threads, speaking on behalf of women whose stories appear in the book and are not out yet for various reasons. Moya, thank you so much for chatting to us today.
Thank you, James and Padraig, for giving me this opportunity. It is very much appreciated by myself and those that I'm representing, the collective of women whose stories appear in Threads.
You're very welcome.
You're very welcome. And I suppose that to start off, it would be interesting to know how Threads came together and how does it reflect your own journey and the experiences of women that you would have grown up with?
Well, in or around the early 2000s, a friend of mine, whom I will refer to as Jane, Jayne, as she's still not out, had this marvellous idea of reaching out to lesbian women in Northern Ireland and indeed to the south of Ireland, asking them to consider writing their personal stories about coming up and identifying as LGBT in the 70s and 80s. And honestly, the response was overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And so Jane took it from there, reached out to friends, and got great support and help in getting people to proofread these stories, finally edit the stories, and in 2008, 2009, we got, we got Threads, the book, first published in paperback version in Belfast by a local printer. And then we gave out the book to a few community groups, etc. I can't remember all the names now, but I could send that to you later or get you a link for it. And again, the response was very, very good, really was. And so then we decided we officially launched the book in 2013, 2014, 10 years ago, in Waterstones in Belfast. And it was remarkable, the response to it. Mm-hmm. It truly was. And then we put Threads, the book, onto Amazon, so you can get it in the ebook version for £3.50 and whatever the equivalent is, of course, in euro, or the paperback version, which is £9.99, the equivalent in euro, obviously, or any other currency if you're buying it from abroad. What we would say to your listeners is, if you're interested at all in the stories of Threads and you decide to buy it on Amazon, please leave a review.
Of course. Because people need to, that's how it leads on then to other people discovering it and other people finding it and being able to share it, those voices.
Absolutely. And not only that, if they do leave a review, as you gentlemen will know, it places the book then on Amazon up that list, until it almost becomes popular. Yes. And at that stage, we would be considering as a collective, this is terribly important now, of bringing Threads, the book, to the attention of our current Minister for Education here in Belfast, Mr. Paul Gibbon. That's further down the road, but it's step by step, as you will understand.
Is the aim then, if it does get that far, is the aim that eventually it's going to be something that will be on the syllabus and in schools or on the curriculum?
Goodness me, is that Padraig?
Yeah, that's me.
Yep. Goodness me, that would be the goal. Now, this is 2024. The world has become much more inclusive, much more tolerant, much more embracing of diversity than it was really back in the 60s and 70s, before the decriminalisation and goodness knows that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I and the women in the book would be hopeful, very much hopeful.
Yeah, sure.
We may at some stage get it onto the syllabus, and I would be saying for 16 plus age
Yeah,
group.
of course.
There's nothing in the stories that could be deemed offensive in any way. That just
Or inappropriate. Of course, I understand completely. But can I just ask, like, obviously it's a collection of all of these stories, and as somebody who is a representative of a queer person who grew up or was around in Belfast during the 70s and 80s, is there any story in particular that sticks out in your mind?
There's Dubliners, Fairer City by Antonia, and the reason I bring it up from the Dublin aspect is because way back in the 70s, Jane herself, the real author of this book, I'm just simply the voice, but Jane herself drove a busload of women from Belfast and surrounding areas down into Dublin to go to those early venues. And Antonia mentioned some of these venues in her story.
Now, we've only got a couple of minutes left, and I wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
no, not at all. It's all fascinating. The one thing I suppose I wanted to ask is, you've spoken already about, I suppose, the change that's occurred within our society, and a lot of younger people today are lucky enough to be growing up in a much more welcoming environment, or an environment that embraces their diversity considerably more. But there is, I suppose, the signs that perhaps there's some of a pushback against that now, and we get a lot of representation of younger queer people. We don't see so much of a representation of older queer people. Do you think it's important that people are hearing the stories of the people who were growing up at a time when our rights weren't as certain, to kind of help them understand perhaps the context for why it's so important to keep fighting for that inclusion today?
Yes, I do. I remember being told decades ago, and I think it's probably true, that sexuality, it's not really fixed. There's more of a fluidity. And if you imagine now, no matter what generation you are, if you imagine a football pitch, two goals on either end. Now, the world population, 10% at one goal mouth will be exclusively heterosexual. 10% at the other goal mouth will be exclusively homosexual. And the 80% is where most people are. There's a fluidity around sexuality and identifying the energy that you have in life. And I think that's more realistic rather than the old traditional, it's male or it's female.
Yeah.
I mean, we all come from male and female. There's a mixture. So what I'm saying in response to your question, as it is with the younger generation, yes, there's more of an acknowledgement of the fluidity of sexuality, so that we gravitate toward one goal mouth or the other during our life experience.
Absolutely. Moya, we're just about to finish up, but I want to ask one more question before we let you go, and we'll have to get you back on another time. But what are your hopes for the future of queer storytelling and representation?
Please listen to this. When it was David Vine, of course, did the TV, but Terry Wogan, I think, did the Radio 2 broadcast at the time, when ABBA won Waterloo at the Eurovision Song Contest 1974. That is linked in with 1974, the first demonstration of gay pride in Dublin. 50 years ago, and we have come a long way. My hope, honestly, is to get it into our schools so that the younger generation realise the struggle that we had in getting our voices heard. But it does get easier. It really does.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Moya. As you already said Threads is available on Amazon, where you can either download it for the Kindle or it's available to order the hard copy. And do leave a review. Also leave a review for Curiosity. They are incredibly helpful. They really are. Moya, thanks so much for chatting to us today. It's been really, really lovely, and we will definitely talk to you again. Thank you for sharing the stories.
Thanks, Moya. I really appreciate it.
Okay, can I just say, gentlemen, when your listeners go to Amazon, go to books, get the little magnifying glass and search and put in Threads, Threads, space Moya, Moya, space Morris, Morris.
That's perfect. We'll share a link in our social media so people can click directly on it to get through to us. But thank you very much, Moya. It's been wonderful to talk to you today.
Thanks, Moya.
Well, that is yet again another successful week on Curiosity.
Absolutely.
Listen,
smash it.
We bring it to you every ball. That's all. That's all I will say on the subject.
But nothing left to be said.
Nothing left to be said. Listen, first off, a massive thank you to our guests today, to Moya, to Padraig, to Alex, and of course to Patrick McNamara from Dublin's Gay Men's Chorus for talking to us.
Informed.
I know.
That was a heavy listen.
It was historical. Yeah. It was infotainment.
Yeah, and loads of sad lesbians.
Sad, heavy lesbians, mermaids.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll be looking very, very differently at the 40 foot from now on, I can tell you.
Watch out for those lesbian eating mermaids.
But listen, remember, if you or anyone you know needs support of the National LGBT Helpline, it is here to listen in confidence and without judgment 7 days a week on 1800 929 539. If you feel so inclined, you can go over and have a look at whatever your man's up to.
Yeah, I'm booking more holidays. My social media handle is Padraig_WMC on everything.
And you can come on over and check out where I've been, what I've been.
Come on over, baby.
There's a bit of foreshadowing for some Christina who's playing us out later. James O_Hagen. Of course, you can also follow us on our dedicated Instagram page at Curiosity Radio.
No, you can, you will.
You will follow us. You will follow us. That's why we all voted last week, so people could follow us on our Instagram page, and you will be delighted to see our wonderful array of gorgeous content. Yeah, absolutely stunning content. Right now, don't be les miserables and stick around for Conor Clear, who will be right up.